Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Unit 3 in English 262, Multicultural Voices. Let's take a look at our assignments this week. So let me go ahead and share my screen. We've got Unit 3 to look at this week. So let's take a look. Excuse me, goodness. We are going to be focusing a little bit more on research this week because we are going to be researching and writing about some of the literature that we are reading. So this particular week, we're going to focus on how to look for and evaluate critical sources, literary criticism. We're going to also think about how other people's interpretations of literature not necessarily will change our own interpretation, but how can that research enhance our interpretation, sometimes even giving us things to think about that we hadn't considered before. So you're going to read, view, and engage our readings and resources, of course. We're going to have a unit discussion board as well as a writing assignment. So let's take a look at the readings and resources list. In the textbook, we read it last week for Unit 2, Lynn Nottage's play, Poof. So we are going to conduct research around Lynn Nottage's play. Sometimes it's difficult if you're trying to research an individual poem or a short story, um, even a play, even if sometimes a full length play, especially if it's fairly new, which of course Poof is fairly new. So we're going to look at what are some sources that we might use if we were going to write about Lynn Nottage's play. So you're going to use our library, Post University Library. And in the first section here, there is a Prezi that was actually created by our library that I want you guys to watch, that's going to describe and define the concept of an annotated bibliography, which is essentially just a list of sources, but then instead of just having the little regular citation for the source, you're also going to add a paragraph or two that gives a summary of the source as well as evaluates it, mostly in terms of how might it be useful in a paper or what are some things that you took away from it. Then you've got links to actual articles and sections of books on Lynn Nottage. Now, some of them will specifically deal with Poof, others will deal with other plays of hers, and some will just deal with her life and her work in general. So take a look at those, pay special attention, and you're going to use those in your presentation this week. Then you're going to look at a video that will kind of help you think about the process of writing literary research papers. Now, we're not writing a research paper this week. We're writing an annotated bibliography for a presentation, but we are working towards that. So definitely take a look at that as well. So let's go back to the unit and take a look at the two assignments. So you've got the Unit 3 discussion board, which says, having read Lynn Nottage's play Poof, what stood out to you the most? How do the other interpretations of Nottage's work in the assigned library sources add to or influence your take on the play? Did any of the additional readings, typo, conflict with your initial thoughts on the story? And if so, how? So you're going to write at least one well-developed paragraph, which you talk about that. And then you're going to respond to your peers in the same way. Okay. So that's your discussion board for this week. As usual, you should post your own response by Wednesday and then respond to others by the following Sunday. Now, instead of a paper this week, you're going to be writing a presentation and doing a presentation. So There's a lot of information in this PDF document that I'm going to open for you, but you're going to be reading it more on your own. But this is what the overall assignment is. In Unit 3, we learned about annotated bibliographies and explored critical interpretations of Lynn Nottage's play, Poof, and her work in general. For this assignment, you will create a brief presentation in which you cite, summarize, and evaluate 5 sources related to Nottage and her play. You need to choose 3 from the assigned readings, and then I want you to find your own research online to supplement that. So at least 2 web pages or articles or whatever. You can use the library sources. You can also use the internet for this. And again, they don't have to necessarily deal specifically with Poof. It could be about her life, her work in general as well. So in that annotated bibliography presentation, you're going to tell us what the source is, where you found it, all of that good stuff. And you are going to create an APA citation for it. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we look at the PDF. But you'll have 3 sources that were assigned to everybody, and then 2 sources that you have found separately. So let's take a look at the assignment sheet. Again, I don't want to read this out loud to you, but it does have a lot of really good information. You're going to create a PowerPoint or a Prezi, and it has to have voice narration. So it's a oral presentation, but it has a visual component. Many of you are familiar with PowerPoint. It is kind of the industry standard. Prezi is a free web-based presentation maker. So if you've never tried it, try it, have some fun with it. I find it to be pretty useful, and it will allow you to create both the visuals where you put the citations as well as record your voice. Now, if you want to share your presentation in video form, you certainly can do that. But we're not going to go over all the technical aspects of that. So if you can do that and want to do that, it's absolutely fine. Many versions of PowerPoint will actually let you record within PowerPoint, and that's usually the most effective way to do it. It's also, though, very difficult to transfer videos because they are such large files. So I always, and you guys will notice this, I create my videos in Zoom and then I upload them to my YouTube channel. And you can create a YouTube channel for free. You also do not have to make your YouTube videos public. So you can make it just to where people can only see it if you send them the link. Now, most of mine are public because I want to embed them in our announcements. So you have to make it public if you want to do that. But please make sure that you are at least giving us a visual presentation in PowerPoint or Prezi, plus your voice talking about the things, okay? So you're going to be graded on the APA format and documentation. Now, again, it's not a paper, so there won't be a references page and all that, but on the slides, as you're talking about each of the sources, you should put the APA citation for that. And if it's something you've gotten from the library, you would be able to pull the citation directly from the library database, which is kind of a nice feature. If you are using the internet, there is a website called Scribr.com, and it's SCRIBBR.com, that will let you do APA citations of websites for free. EasyBib.com is one of my favorite citation generating websites, but they do not, you have to pay to get APA citations. So Scribr was something I discovered not long ago, and I use it a lot for websites. So feel free to look over the criteria, of course. You are going to be graded on the delivery. You're going to be graded on the visuals on the PowerPoint or Prezi. Um, you're also going to be evaluated on how well you summarize and evaluate your sources. So there's your points. If you have any questions about the annotated bibliography, please let me know. I will put out a couple of other announcements this week that have some helpful things in it. I have a pretty cool handout about doing presentations that I will share with you later in the week. So that might help as well. And there's also a lot of good resources on annotated bibliographies online. So feel free to look that up. I think that'll help as well. So if I were doing this assignment, I probably would write out my annotated bibliography. So I'd have my citation with my paragraph that evaluates and analyzes and summarizes and all that. And then I would create my presentation. The main thing, though, is you do not want to write whole paragraphs on a PowerPoint slide or on a Prezi. So you may want to write out what you want to say about each of those sources, but on the visual, don't include every word you're going to say. Okay, and that'll be something that's in that handout that I'll send out later this week. So if you have any questions or any problems, please, please, please reach out, and I will be happy to help you with that. And those are your 2 assignments for Unit 3. Everybody take care. Have a great week.